Hello everyone, this is Taliesin McKnight. Thank you for joining me today. Today's subject is Mithraism, and we will have an overview of what Mithraism is, historically. Mithraism is a religion of the Roman Empire dating from the 1st through the 4th century AD. That's centered around the worship of Mithras. And so Mithraism was a religion popular in the Roman Empire from the 1st through 4th centuries, and it's centered around the worship of Mithras. Mithras, there's a little bit of confusion as to whether Mithras was a god of the sun or simply a god of light, because the archaeological evidence sometimes shows Mithras, sometimes it depicts him with the sun god Helios. So even though he's usually said to be a sun god, to have him there beside a sun god makes some people think that he might just be light. But the Hindus and the Persians did worship him as a solar deity at times. And so Mithras was a solar deity of light. This religion was popular in the Roman Empire from the 1st through 4th century. The cult of Mithras met in caves or in underground crypts meant to look like caves. A Mithraic temple is called a Mithraeum, the plural of which is Mithraea. Many Mithraea have been discovered. Mithraism was very popular with the Roman soldiers who carried Mithraism with them throughout the Roman Empire. They carried Mithraism to Britain. They carried Mithraism to Gaul, to Spain. They carried Mithraism to northern Africa. Mithraism was a religion of men only. So women were not allowed to join. It was a religion of men only. Mithraism was a secret society, sort of like Freemasonry, in that it was a secret society of men only. Mithraism had 7 degrees of initiation. 7 degrees. And the 7 degrees of initiation corresponded to the 7 planets. So how do we know what we know? The earliest archaeological evidence of Mithraism dates to around the year 90 AD. So Mithraism, the Roman mystery cult, it's younger than Christianity. Christianity is older than the Roman cult of Mithraism. The Roman cult of Mithraism cannot be traced before the year 90 AD. And the cult seemed to have died out at the end of the 4th century. The Mithraic temples that they worshipped in caves, many of these have been uncovered. There's a lot of archaeological evidence. And we know that they had 7 degrees of initiation, corresponding to the 7 planets. The 7 grades of initiation are Raven, connected to Mercury, Bride, connected to Venus, and then we have Soldier, the 3rd degree, which Soldier, connected to Mars. Lion is the 4th degree, connected to Jupiter, who had the whip as a symbol of the degree. And then we have Persian is the 5th degree, connected to the moon. And then Sunrunner, or Sun Messenger, is the 6th degree, connected to the sun. And the 7th degree is Father, connected to Saturn. And the leader of the congregation was called Father. So that's one similarity that we have with Christianity. So Mithraism is a Roman religion popular in the Roman Empire from the 1st through 4th centuries. They met in caves or in underground temples made to look like caves. It was a religion of men only. Women were not allowed to join, and it was a secret society with 7 degrees of initiation. So Mithraism, the Roman mystery cult of Mithraism, existed for 300 years, from around the year 90 AD till the end of the 4th century. Now, in addition to this, we have an older, much more ancient Indian and Persian Mithra. So Mithra was worshipped in Persia and in India way before the Roman cult sprang up. Scholars usually distinguish between the Roman Mithras with an S at the end, which is a Latinized form of Mithra. Mithra refers to the Persian and Indian deity. Now, Mithra was worshipped. His worship is much older in India, in Persia, and we have 2 really great sources for this. The scriptures. The Rig Veda is a part of Hindu scriptures. The Rig Veda has a hymn to Mithra. Below, in the description box, I will give a link to the hymn to Mithra from the Rig Veda. So you will be able to read for yourself a hymn to Mithra from Hinduism. It's always good to know how we know what we know and to have evidence. The Zendavesta is part of the Zoroastrian scriptures. Zoroastrianism is a Persian religion started by Zarathustra, or Zoroaster. The Zendavesta also has a hymn to Mithra. And again, below in the description box, I will place a link to this hymn from the Zendavesta. So you will be able to read for yourself about hymns in Hinduism and Zoroastrianism to the older Persian Indo-Iranian Mithra. The worship of Mithra goes back, we can trace the worship of Mithra all the way back to 1400 BC. So if we know for certain that Mithra was worshipped from 1400 BC all the way to the 4th century AD, then we could say with certainty that Mithra was worshipped for 2,000 years. Now, how do we date Mithra back to 1400 BC? We trace Mithra back to 1400 BC because archaeologists have uncovered clay tablets that was a treaty between the king of the Hittites and the king of the Mitanni. These clay tablets have been dated back to 1400 BC. They are part of the Bogostoy archives discovered in Turkey, and so you might want to check that out. So the older Indian and Persian Mithra has been worshipped for 1500 years or so before the Roman cult of Mithraism emerged. Now, Franz Cumont was one of the greatest scholars of Mithraism that made it popular. Now we know that the Roman cult of Mithra has very little in common with the older worship of Mithra. We have no evidence that Mithra, the older Persian Indian Mithra, was worshipped in caves. We have no evidence of Mithra, of it being men only or having 7 degrees of initiation. The central image of Mithraism shows Mithras killing the bull. This is called the Tauroctony. And it shows Mithras killing the bull, obviously the central myth of the cult. On one side is Calchas holding the torch upward, with the sun over him representing the rising sun. On the other side is Kaltopate holding the torch downward with a moon overhead representing the setting sun. So we have Yakin and Boaz, hot and cold, light and dark, the rising and setting sun. We have no evidence of this in the older Mithraism, and so Roman Mithraism cannot be said to be a direct link from there. Mithraism is often said to have a lot in common with Christianity, and that's just not the case. There is no evidence that Mithra was ever born of a virgin. Mithra was born from a rock. There is no evidence that Mithra ever died and resurrected from the dead. All we have is a very vague passage by the early church father Tertullian. So yeah, no archaeological evidence that Mithra rose from the dead, born of a virgin. All of that is pure fantasy. However, the leader of the congregation is called Father. They did have a communion of a sort, and the celebration of Mithras' birthday was December 25th. So there are those similarities, and the worship on Sunday. So there are some similarities. So overall, Mithraism was a Roman religion, a religion popular in the Roman Empire from the 1st through 4th centuries AD. Mithras was a solar deity of light. They worshipped in caves or in underground temples made to look like caves. It was a secret society of men only. Women were not allowed to join. And there were 7 degrees of initiation. The 7 degrees of initiation representing the 7 planets. Anyways, that is a brief overview of Mithraism.